What is good, everybody? My name is Dylan Spalding with Auto Racing Digest, and we are so happy to be here at HSR Weekend, the 24-hour classic here at Daytona, and we are joined with another very special guest this weekend. We are joined with a former IMSA driver himself. We are joined with Guy Cosmo. Guy, thanks so much for taking some time to talk, man. I appreciate talking.
My pleasure. Thanks, Dylan.
Guy, obviously you've had a busy career. You are American Le Mans Rookie of the Year. You're a podium winner at Daytona for VisitFlorida.com Racing. Podium winner at Sebring as well. You also raced, obviously, in the Rolex Sports Car Series before IMSA and such took it over. Coming into a weekend like this, seeing all the historic cars you've racing for so many years, what is it like to be able to see cars that you've raced against, and even cars nowadays that you've raced even nowadays? What is it like to be able to be a part of this experience?
It's really neat. I mean, the first few years that they did this classic, I hadn't attended. Timing didn't work out for me. And it's grown in popularity and interest, and everyone said it was so much fun. So this is now my third year being here for this event. And I've been working with Bob Neopol, who's been fantastic to work with. We brought him here to race in his very first year of racing ever, and he did a great job. And now we're here for year number 3. So to come to the event, to see all of these cars, and to have to reminisce, right? See all of your old buddies and reminisce about, I raced this car and I raced against that car, and to have the opportunity to drive some of the cars that I had never been in before. It's really it's a great experience. Camaraderie is fantastic. These guys are having so much fun with all of their racing. And, now that IMSA is a part of what HSR is doing, we see, this trend to more popularity and to a really, really nice product that HSR is putting out. And they've always done a great job with it, but now it's all being ramped up, and we're seeing more and more super valuable historic cars. I mean, Adrian Newey is here racing a GT40. Jim Farley is here driving with him. We've got all kinds of people from all walks of life that are coming together at the World Center of Racing here at Daytona and having a blast. So it's fun.
Yeah, that must be such a really cool experience to be able to not only get to race against him, but also be able to pick your brain, as you mentioned with Newey. I mean, you're literally 2 garages next to him. So hear what's going on. Obviously, you guys are focused on what you guys are doing this weekend, but to see everything going on and to see drivers you may have not gotten a chance to race against in your career, it's probably really cool to be able to pick their brains or even get to see what they're doing on track as well.
Yeah, it really is. There's lots of variety, lots of different opinions, but at the end of the day, the laws of physics are the same for all of us, and the common desire and passion for the sport remains the same. So it's cool.
For sure. For a fan who is new to racing and who doesn't know much about HSR and the difference between IMSA and an HSR event, obviously with you having run an IMSA event, you know what it's like and what it's like during an IMSA weekend. So what are the differences from maybe a standard IMSA weekend to something like this where it is an HSR weekend and it might be a little bit different?
Yeah, there's a big difference. In IMSA, you're talking about the absolute pinnacle of sports car racing, not just in North America, but arguably in the entire world. And it is a super high-level, intense, most competitive, cutthroat environment you could possibly be in. And it's an incredible show, and it's a great fan experience. But it's all modern-day racing, factory efforts, privateers, Pro-Am, all of the best in one area. And then historic sports car racing is a laid-back, relaxed environment. We are resurrecting cars from the days of old and, showcasing them, putting them on display, letting people have all of these great memories of, when they were a kid and their parents brought them to a race back in the 70s or the 80s or whatever it was, and, that was the car that they saw on TV. That's the car they saw at the first race they ever went to. And, it's a fun environment. The racing is very good and it's very hard, but there's an understanding that here we're not here for the victories. We're here for the camaraderie. We're here for the experience, and we're here to preserve the equipment. Nobody wants to crash up any of these cars. And things happen, and sometimes drivers are drivers, and contact takes place, or there are crashes and incidents. I just saw a Ferrari 333 SP go by on the record, and it looked pretty bad. Racing's still racing, and it's still dangerous, and it still takes an enormous amount of responsibility. But, the general theme of coming to these events is have a good time, be safe, and enjoy everyone and everything that's here.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to take that competitive itch out of the driver for sure. So definitely I can get where you're coming from on that. Just talking about your career again, you've raced everywhere. You've done basically everything. Again, you're a podium winner at Daytona. To be back at this track and to be able to race here in a prototype as well, how special does that mean to you, be able to be back at this track and be able to race at a track that you've had so much success at?
Yeah, it's really enjoyable. It means a lot, but for me, it still just fuels the fire.
Yeah.
I haven't been in WeatherTech for the past couple of years now, outside of a real short stint in GTD, and I miss it. And it is very much still my number one focus is to get back onto the WeatherTech grid and to be in a high-profile, highly competitive environment where I can continue to do what I love and to offer the skill set that I can provide. And I've done a lot of Pro-Am racing for the past number of years, and I make a great living doing what I do. I keep very busy, and I'm in the car all the time. All the time. Every single week I'm driving something. But I haven't been racing as much as I'd like to be lately. And a lot of that's just circumstance. But, coming to these events, it fuels the fire even more, and it's also keeping me sharp. I mean, all of the WeatherTech racetracks that IMSA raced at this year, I raced on just about all of them outside of, Detroit and, a couple of the others. But I'm as prepared and as hungry and as motivated as I have ever been in my entire life. And I have a lot more in me. And I'm ready to go.
I like that. I love that quote. Going to talk about the car that you guys are driving now. You guys are driving Porsches as well this weekend. Those just ended. You guys drove those in the sprint races this weekend that were going on. So for fans who are listening, there are sprint races, and then you have the group races, which are going on for the 24 hours. For you guys in the 24 hours, you guys are driving the Daytona prototype BMW by Hudson Historics. RBN Racing, or RBN Motorsports are with this weekend as well. Talk about that car, because the prototype class has drastically changed to what it is now. Even the car that you guys are racing this weekend, it's a little bit different than what we see now on track. So talk about the car and some of the differences that car has compared to what they see on track nowadays in IMSA.
Yeah, so there's a couple of more modern day prototype categories that are showing up here, and of course every year that the Earth rotates, we've got newer race cars that are showing up in historic racing, and the typical rule is it needs to be, I think, at least 5 years old for it to be eligible for like a modern day category within any of these historic racing organizations. But the prototype class keeps finding more and more guys that just want to go fast, and GT racing is great, and there's huge fields for each of those categories. But this prototype class has taken off, and with the new era of GTP in IMSA, now you have not only the LMP2s and the Daytona prototypes, but now you have the DPIs that have been racing for the past 7 years showing up in these categories. So the racing is getting really intense. Hudson Historics with Gordon Eggleston, that has owned the team for a long time. They kind of specialize in resurrecting and restoring these Daytona prototypes. We've got the Wayland Corvette DP that's here. We've got the Visit Florida Corvette DPs that are back at the shop, but come to many of these events, and tons of others that are being driven on track days and test events and whatnot that aren't being raced. And this car that we've got here with Bob, whom I'm coaching, is a Riley BMW. And I don't know its full history, which I should, but I don't know its full history yet. But it was a car that Peter Barron owned and was raced at Starworks. So this particular car raced the 24-hour with Rubens Barrichello, Brendan Hartley, and Ryan Hunter-Ray in it. And then the car was sold to Starworks Motorsports, Allegra. And the car ran, I believe, in Grand Am with them for a couple of races, or in that maybe the first year of the Tudor United Sports Car Championship, and then it just kind of sat. They ran it, I think, at this event one year, several years ago, and then it was just sitting there. So Bob bought the car. Gordon went through the entire thing. We rebuilt the thing from top to bottom, and it is a beast. We're at about 190 miles per hour on the front straight, and the sucker is cracking. so much fun to drive, and really neat that we have another Daytona prototype to race against. And as things evolve and progress for next year, more of these cars are being restored, more of them are being put on the market, and more guys are buying cars like this. So the racing is just getting better and better.
You talked about you wanting to try to make that return back to IMSA, and seeing this year, seeing the growth. Obviously, we mentioned the GTP class and how that has evolved, but now seeing the grid expanding for 2024. Now seeing, the crowds at these events are expanding. It is truly exciting to not only be an IMSA fan, but just be a sports car fan in general.
Yeah.
How excited are you to try to, get back to that level, back to that IMSA level, if you will, and be able to hopefully be a part of that again?
Yeah, as much as possible.
Yeah.
I'm hustling every day to try to find an opportunity to get back on the grid and do what I do and do what I love and do it in the most competitive way that I can. And, I've had a great career. I have not won a lot of championships or races in sports car racing. But I've made a very successful and long profession of doing what I do, and being a race car driver and a driver coach. And I've lasted a lot longer than a lot of my peers, from the younger days when we first started. So I'm really proud of what I've accomplished, but I kind of did it a little bit more out of necessity for making a living from the industry, as opposed to maybe putting myself in the most competitive situations or holding out for those opportunities throughout my career. I needed to put food on the table. I needed to pay my bills, and I chose for motorsports to be my sole source of income, which I had a lot of pride for all of those years. And now I realize, well, it really would have been smart to make some money outside of racing.
Yeah.
And maybe I could have been a little bit more picky and choosy about some of the opportunities that I committed to. But, no regrets. You just keep looking forward, and there's so much more that I want to accomplish in this sport. And I want to win Daytona. I want to win Sebring. I want to go to Le Mans. I want to do all these things. And I haven't slowed down. I'll tell you that. I feel like I'm sharper, faster, and obviously more experienced than I've ever been, and I'm just ready to go.
Yeah, I love it. The hustle is real in racing. That's one thing that many people don't realize. I think especially if you are getting into the sport and learning about the sport, that is one thing you'll learn, is that the hustle never stops in racing. Even when it's the off season, there's testing, there's everything. It is a real grind to be a race car driver.
Yeah, it is. It never ends. It is literally day to day, hour by hour, minute by minute. It's just 5 seconds ago I had a conversation, a very productive conversation with somebody, about the possibility of helping me get into a seat at Daytona. And, you never know.
Yeah.
You never know what lurks around every corner, and you always need to be on, and you need to be hungry for it, because life will pass you by if you don't chase it down.
Dude, that's a great way there. Kind of talking about this event this weekend, and kind of mentioning, going back to the fans and seeing all the fans here at the track and seeing them and their faces, seeing the cars and stuff. For you, how gratifying is it as a driver to be able to interact and see these fans at the track and be able to see them really, truly experience this type of event? It's truly a special thing, I can imagine, as a driver.
Yeah, it really is. It's a lot of fun, I've had so many. Look, I'm not Juan Montoya. I'm not Jeff Gordon, But the amount of people that walk up to me and say, "Oh, hey, guy, you're guy Cosmo, right?" And then talk to me about my racing that they've witnessed. And I'm not, some significant figure in motorsports, but these fans are so loyal and so knowledgeable and so enthusiastic. It's really nice to be able to have those experiences with them and take the time to just catch up and learn about them and see, again, the shared passion for our sport. So these events are really great like that.
As we go into kind of the end of the weekend, obviously we got today, we got a little bit of the morning tomorrow with this race weekend. For you, what's on the docket coming up next? Obviously, you mentioned racing never ends. It's always a hustle and sport, if you will. So for you, what's next for Guy Cosmo here going forward, and how are you looking forward to closing out the 2023 year here?
Yeah, well, 2023 marks my 20th year of professional sports car racing.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Daytona 24 in 2003 was my very first sports car race ever. And so this is my 20th anniversary of it. Unfortunately, I did not race a single race this year. And that's a little sad to have to celebrate that way, but I've been so busy coaching and I've been so busy testing, and like I said, I've driven a ton this year and a lot of different kinds of cars, GT3s, GT4s, Daytona prototypes, DPI, you've named it. I've had a lot of seat time in a lot of different cars. Next week, I leave for 2 weeks to go to Italy and coach at the Lamborghini Super Trofeo World Finals.
Okay.
And I'm probably going to co-drive with my client. We're going to, move up a class so that he can now drive with me instead of just him driving by himself. So I'm going to hopefully get to, get my races in for this year. And then we've got the classic 12-hour with HSR at Sebring in early December.
Yep.
And then I think my season is over, and hopefully it starts right back up in January with IMSA. So, I've got a lot of work to do over these next few weeks to see if I can solidify my place on the grid. And, if not for Daytona, then we just keep working, see if we can land something for the Sebring 12-hour. And, then there's a lot of other series out there. Asian Le Mans Series, European Le Mans, SRO. I want to be racing everywhere. So I'm working on all of it.
I love it. Guy, thank you so much again for talking. Where can people find you on social media? Where can they find RBN Motorsports and Hudson Historics? And again, thanks so much for talking again.
Yeah, you can find any, just my name, first and last name as one word, Guy Cosmo, on any of the platforms. You'll find me, and all the links and everything else is there. And try to keep it real. We got to get Cosmo Cam going. We can try to make it fun. Everybody's a little bit goofy behind the camera. Self-inflicted, I know. I'm sure people might not realize I have a very serious side to my approach to the sport, but when it comes time for the camera, I don't know, I just turn into a total goofball. But tune in, and thanks for today.
I appreciate it. And if there's any sponsorships available, I will be the first one to call. I'll sponsor Cosmo Cam.
I love it.
Let's do it. So, awesome. The Guy, thanks again so much, and good luck the rest of the weekend going forward.
Thanks, Phil. Appreciate it.